Okay, so as you may have heard, there is a new community goal happening around HIP 87621. All of the various factions are trying to vie for control of that area of the system because of the new space trees that we got. And while I'm not particularly interested in any of this, I did get a comment on one of my videos asking if I was planning on participating in this particular community goal. Now, I did do the last one because it had a cosmetic for one of the suits or something like that, which is something you can kind of store away for later and you'll always have access to it. I do generally participate in community events that have cosmetic upgrades, permanent cosmetic upgrades, just because you never know if later in the future you might want to have that. But for something like this, the rewards just are not interesting in the slightest for me. And this video, basically, I'm making a video right now because it kind of ties in with the overall theme of my criticism videos. It answers the question a little bit more fully for the person who asked me if I was going to participate, and it kind of expands on something I said to another commenter in one of my other videos where they said, you should make a video talking about the things that they should do. And I told them, well, you need to go look at my channel because I already made one specific video listing out all the things that they could do. And most of my videos do include, hey, you could do this instead of this bullshit you're doing. So setting all of that aside, I want to talk about this specific community goal and kind of highlight and point out why I continue to have the viewpoint I do of the developers, because it is clear, and it has been clear for a very long time, that the developers themselves just do not seem to understand the concept of rewards that are actually enticing to people. Now, I will say that the merits that they're including in this particular CG are starting to move in that direction, but I don't know that 20,000 merits is enough for me to spend, you know, a significant amount of time trying to participate in this. Mostly because I just kind of gave up on the whole Powerplay 2.0 system shortly after it came out. It was way more of a grind than I wanted to deal with, and to be perfectly honest with you, none of the Powerplay locked items are that enticing to me. I generally prefer to run bi-weave shields because I'd rather have recharge rate than to have shields that take forever to recharge once they're depleted. And that's really the only item that I ever had any real interest in grabbing in the original Powerplay system. I was with what's-her-face, the young Empire girl, for a long time because she gave you the prismatic shields as her option, and you know, I just stayed with that faction because hey, I get prismatic shields whenever I wanted to. But then I never used them. They sat in my storage and I never did anything with them, and was just eh. And then the new Powerplay system came out, and I picked a power based off of the wanting to identify with somebody who was more militaristic, because I'm prior military, and I spent a significant portion of my adult life doing that, so I just kind of wanted to go with that. And even then, it's just like the grind for merits. It takes way too long to climb your way up the ladder to make it worth your time, as far as I'm concerned. And the rewards just aren't worth it. And this is another example of that line of thinking, where they think that the developers seem to have this idea that because they're developing it, that makes the activity itself worth your time. And I'm sorry, but none of these CGs are ever just worth your time to be doing the activity just for the sake of doing the activity. It's just not. And so the way you overcome that is by making the rewards actually worth people's time to do them. And the way that you do that is you introduce things that you can't get from other sources ever, right? So like a unique cosmetic item is something that kind of sort of makes it worth your time to go do it if it's reasonably easy to do. And so, for example, the last CG, right? We had a cosmetic, and all you had to do was turn in one sample, you got the cosmetic. And then after that, if you did the 75th percentile, you got a grade 5 Artemis suit with a bunch of actually useful upgrades for that, which made it worth your time if you didn't already have a grade 5 Artemis suit with a bunch of engineering in it. So for me, as somebody who has been a long-time explorer, I didn't really care about the Artemis suit, but the fact that I could just go turn in one sample, get a free, easy cosmetic, made it so that, hey, I'll go and grab a couple of samples and go get that done and turn that in and move on. That reward was enough to entice me to put in the minimal effort to grab that reward, and that was actually something that was kind of reasonable to do. The problem that I have here is that unless you are the kind of person who is interested in using multi-cannons, this CG offers you very little. And if you're especially if you're like me and you're just like, I can't be bothered to fuck around with this stupid merit system to increase my standing with the thing, then even 20,000 merits or 10,000, depending on the results of all of this, is just not really worth my time to go do whatever all this bullshit is. I messed around with Powerplay. The activities you do in Powerplay just aren't interesting enough for me to give a crap about it. And it's just, I don't want to go do it. I have no interest in doing it. And it's because A, the activities are boring. They're so fucking boring. That's number one. But even outside of that, I could live with the boring grind if the reward on the other side of it warranted putting up with the boring grind, and they just never are, right? So how do you fix this? So in response to the person who wanted to talk about how I don't provide solutions, I do. I provide solutions in most of my videos, but let me go ahead and make sure I do this now. The solution for this here is don't force feed one single specific reward down our throat for a CG like this. Offer us a list of options that we can choose from. Say, we have this special contact you can go and visit, and if you do this and you reach this goal or whatever, you can go visit this specialized vendor at your Powerplay headquarters person, talk to this contact over here, and he'll have a range of equivalent options for you to choose from. And then maybe I might be interested in doing that if I'm going to get a pre-engineered flat cannon out of it, or something, a weapon that I actually use, a pre-engineered laser beam, a pre-engineered something that I actually use. Because me personally, I don't use multi-cannons, which makes this CG completely not worth my time at all. Offering a little bit more choice would drastically increase the value of doing a CG like this, because now, you know, instead of having to purchase an item and then go through all the process of gathering the materials to engineer it and all of that stuff, I can go do a quick little bit of stuff and get one. And if I want to do a little bit more, I can do the 75th percentile and get two. And I can get two of a weapon or item or something like that that I actually want, rather than the random one you decided to put in there as the reward for the CG. This is the kind of stuff that developers who care about what they're doing would figure out on their own, instead of having some random dude off the internet have to give you the ideas like this. And if you think about that for a second, you're going to be like, that's an absolutely obvious fucking idea. The people who don't want a multi-cannon aren't going to participate because they're not getting anything out of this. Maybe we should make it so that, you know, the people who have a specific desire for a specific weapon might actually participate if they could pick that specific weapon when a CG comes around. It's really not that hard to come up with these things if you're focused on something other than minimal effort. And that's why I constantly harp on the game, on the developers, because all of this stuff right here is just, it's a symptom of minimal effort thinking. What's the least we can do to encourage the maximum number of people to participate in the game? And if all you care about is making money, if that's the only thing you care about is making money, then that's what you're going to do every time. How little can I do to make the most amount of money so I don't have to stress out over doing a bunch of work? And that attitude is the attitude of a company and a development staff who are not invested in the game and are not invested in making the best decisions for the game. They're just trying to pump out some bullshit to tide you guys over until they can pump out another bullshit thing to get you to spend some more money on. And I'm sorry, that's just how I see it. That's how I see it. When I look at these rewards right here, this is just brainless bullshit. And there's no thought that goes into it. There's no thought of, well, do people actually care about these things? Like the people who actually think, that not the sheep who are just so indoctrinated into the Elite Dangerous system that they'll eat shit if they're given it, right? Not those people. There's a lot of those, and it's unfortunate that we can't convert those people. But for those of you who actually have a brain and are actually like critical of, is what I'm getting out of this really worth the time I'm expected to invest into it? Is this really worth your time? Is it really worth your time? I don't think so. And so that's mostly what I wanted to talk about. I'm in the middle of a carrier jump here, trying to get ready to do my Wandering Wednesday episode, because I'm getting ready to go through a life event right now, and I need to pre-record some videos, so that's what's going on here. But yeah, it's super frustrating, because for a long time I've been watching as the developers they're just so divorced from the idea of what like actual worth your time rewards are. And it's sad, because the reason that they're able to continue doing that is because there are so many people out there who just take it. They just take it. And, you know, the obvious answer to that is, well, just go find another game to play. And it's like, yeah, you could do that. Or you could speak out against the bullshit that's happening and try to get the player base to change their minds on it and to push back against the developers and force them to actually put out a good game, right? Because I talked about the Stop Killing Games movement and how I don't want governments stepping in to force developers to do things a certain way, right? And I don't think that should ever be a way that things are handled. The way that it's handled is that the player base bands together and says, no, we're not going to buy your shit anymore until you give us something that's worth our money. Right? That's the way you handle this stuff. And so I'm trying to push for that result. If you are coming across this video, my call to you is stop buying things from the developers until they actually give you something that's worth the money they're asking for. Because they're not putting any effort into this. They're not putting any time into it. They're not investing resources into it. They're taking, I have to imagine they're taking the vast majority of the money that you're giving them and putting it towards another project. Because they're certainly not putting it into this project. They're not. There's no way that they are. So, that's all I wanted to say. I know it was a long-winded way, as I always do, of saying that, I'm sorry, this CG is not worth my time. It's not going to be worth a lot of people's time. And a simple fix would just be making it so that you have a list of items to choose from, rather than just being force-fed one specific item that the developers just decided, let's just take this and put it in there as an option. There's no thought that goes into that. They just pick something. Give us choice. Choice makes things feel so much better. Even if it's objectively not better, there's an emotional component of being able to say, like, I got to pick this item. I didn't just do this CG and there was an item that was just, oh, this was the reward. No, I worked towards something and then I got to pick what I got out of it. Like that it doesn't require much more effort, but it still feels way better as the player. Even something as little as that, they can't figure out. They can't figure out how to make players feel good. Other than, here's a shiny ship that you can fly now. It doesn't really do anything new, but it's shiny and new. Here you go. I'm sorry, that doesn't entice me. You have to actually provide me with something that's valuable, and you're not. So, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. If you'd like to support my channel, I do have PayPal and Patreon links, as well as the thanks button just below the video itself. I'm trying to provide you guys with some value, so any contributions are appreciated. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you for the next one.